Okay, here we go.
There you go.
So, guys, back again with the one and only Alfonso Garza from Mexico, Chinese language coach and an expert on how to immerse yourself into a foreign culture. Yeah, so warm welcome, first of all. Please let us know what or where you're coming from, why that is such an interesting and important topic to you, and later on, of course, what makes you an expert regarding to immerse yourself into another culture.
Awesome. Well, Alex, as always, super grateful, super happy to be here again with you. We know for the people that have been watching us for a couple of lives, you know that we really get along well and we really get a lot of things to talk about and comparing both our languages, Chinese and in your case, German. Um, and, just to go straight to the point and start talking and see like what the common questions and problems that people might find when they want to learn another language. I want to point out exactly what you asked, which is like, well, immersion. I personally believe that this is just a word, a fancy word that we have for us grown adults to understand the concept. But really, immersion is what we do every day. Like, just think about someone wanting to learn, in my case, or in your case, for example, Spanish. If you live where you live and you speak Spanish wherever you go, for instance, in Mexico, if you go to the street and you see a sign, guess that sign what's going to be like? It's going to be in Spanish. If you open up your phone, might likely, very likely will be in Spanish. If you talk to the police officer, if you do whatever, if you go to the store, you will likely have to use Spanish in order to communicate. So that is pretty much immersion. Immersion is pretty much what you're doing every day in your own language that you're good at, and matter of fact, you are an expert. Well, how do you translate that into another language? Right? So I like to break things down into the most simple, understandable concepts. Matter of fact, when it comes to grammar, Chinese grammar, for instance, I don't like teaching it as a very, delicate and like, oh yeah, this is the past, tense or whatever, because sometimes those things help us get more confused than actually having clear what we're talking about. So I would say, in terms that we can understand, immersion is pretty much doing a copy paste from your current life and lifestyle to your target language. And now, how you do that? Well, there's lots of things you can apply. You can include in your daily life that would mimic this. I think that's why people say that the best way to learn a language is you go and live to the country. Well, yeah, that's the easiest way to change your environment into the target language and kind of force yourself to say it. But I also tell my students this: if you can't go to China, then you have to bring China to you. And there's many ways that we can bring China to us. And I'm just going to mention one, for instance, is anything that you see around you, your brain is, I mean, our brains are pretty much putting a label on those things. Like right now, I'm looking at a computer, and the computer has a keyboard, and then next to the keyboard, there's a phone, and then there's the screen, right? So I can immediately name those things because I know them, right? But what about if instead of every time I see these things, I name them in the target language that I want to learn? So, for instance, this is not a computer, this is 电脑, right? This is not a phone, this is 手机, and this is not a screen, this is a 屏幕. So how do I do that? Of course, in the beginning, it might be hard to recall those things, but you can always put a sticker next to the computer and, like in my case, write the characters and then the pinyin on the bottom. So you always have to force yourself, when you open the computer, look at that and say it out loud, or at least teach your brain to say it, right? It's really making that relationship that you have with the objects again, but with a target language. You do that, and then, I would say in less than a month that you open your computer every day and you look at the same characters every single day, you will be able to recognize them, say them out loud, and you will never forget them. But this constant exposure, again, is the same thing that you do with your current language. Like if you put a speaker to the little voice that we have inside, It's like when you're looking around things, you go, oh yeah, my room is blah blah blah. Yeah, and you're looking at your room, and then you go, yeah, my window probably is right. You're always naming stuff. Well, how about you put a label to those things you're naming in your, in your environment every day. Boom, you got it. That's exposure, and that's teaching your brain, those new words, for instance, right? So I think that about immersion. Immersion should be made simple, and it's a complex, I mean, it's a concept that we created so we grown adults can understand, but really it all comes down to how we learned, in my opinion, how we learned our own languages, right? I think we have literally like a very clear set of clues and hints that we can use in now our grown modern world, but it goes back from when we were babies and we were learning Spanish, German, right?
100%. Couldn't agree more. And it's funny what you said. It's so important that you just immerse yourself without like labeling stuff, right? There's like we have many times like, but how do I immerse myself into another culture, language? Just do it. You just don't think about it too much and put there the focus already in the beginning on the negative. Now instead, like just do it, and you will see like in the actually like regarding to that on my onboarding calls I had to today like with new students, and I show them like, look guys, like just focus on the little tasks, everyday tasks, like be consistent, try to speak from day one, send out text messages, voice messages, send not only this stuff out, immerse yourself, like not only through all these tools, no, use like for example my course that I have on Kajabi for them, where they like literally can like have a listening comprehension exercise, or listen to that, listen to the recordings like to each call that we had together, and you get a grasp of it. And if you do that regularly, you will not like notice in what moment you will be able to understand and talk way more. Sometimes it's like for some 4, 6, sometimes even 8 weeks, but then it goes really, really fast. Yeah. But as long as you're not a consistent, you can't expect, yeah, like
Yeah,
it being easy.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You need to do the hard things to make it easy.
Yeah. And then I think, yeah, it's very important what you said about the time, right? It might take a bit longer for some people, it might take a bit less for some people. It doesn't really matter because you eventually get to make it. How are we so sure? I mean, look at yourself. I'm pretty sure I'm not talking to you, in another language, right? In an alien language right now. And if you can understand what I'm saying, guess what? You learned that language, you learned English. So it's really replicating. I think that this is very empowering for people that might consider, I want to learn German, but it's probably too hard, or I want to learn Chinese, but it's just, incredibly challenging. It's too hard. I'm never going to learn it. Well, how sure are you? Because they are humans as well, just like you. And if they learn the language, and if you learned your own, definitely you can, of course, learn any other language that you want. And the thing is that we know about all the good things that can come up with that. The job opportunities, moving countries. You can do so many things with another language in your bag. And looking at the language or your target language to the eye really empowers you, because most of the times I would say people, we put the languages that we want to learn on a pedestal, and we just think they are unreachable, and they're just, we're never going to get there. But really, I mean, it's just another language. It's just another set of sounds that make sense somehow for some of the people in some other parts of the world, right? Because if I just bring someone here, let's say I bring a
Mhm.
someone from, I don't know, it's Uganda. I don't even know how that language sounds, right? But what about that person starts speaking Ugandan, probably? I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the way we call it. What are we going to think about that language? It just sounds like weird mixture of sounds. Well, I would tell my students this is exactly how we look to other people, right? To people who don't speak English, Ugandans, for instance, that's how English sounds like. That's how Spanish sounds like. It sounds illogical and just weird sounds. What
Yeah.
happened in why is does it make so much sense to you? Because you have used it so many times, and it doesn't matter if it takes you 4 weeks, 8 weeks. The fact is that it will get to a point, if you do it constantly, that it will make sense to you, and it will no longer sound like a set of sounds and weird things. It will just be natural, just like your own languages, but it takes time, just like you took time with your own language, right?
Very much. 100%. It's awesome. And like, you can confirm that, yeah, when we met first, but on our first call, you thought, I'm like, where did I learn German?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people know that, or I mean, I think I've mentioned it once in the past, but just so
Yeah.
everyone knows, when I met Alex, I was really, I was happy to have the first call with him to talk. We were both coaches and we were approaching each other, but I was really wondering, and the one of the questions I really wanted to ask him is, so where exactly from Latin America are you? Because I can tell you've got a like a Central American or even like the Caribbean accent, but I can't really tell which country. And I personally in Spanish I really like to imitate the Spanish accents that there are. There's many, of course. We got from Spain, Argentina, Chile, and we got so many. So I was like, I really need to ask him this question, like, so where are you? And it turned out he was not from any of those countries. So that's the thing. He got used to this pronunciation so much that
Hmm.
it's just like your own way of speaking. And I grant you, like, it's I can guarantee if you come to Mexico, you go anywhere else, they will ask you, so where are you from? Because you can kind of tell it's like coast, accent, something like that. But that's because force of habit, because of doing it constantly. And I would say it's two things: being exposed to that accent every day and reproducing by yourself that accent every day. That is what makes the work. And I would say for any language, it comes down to those things. Expose yourself to that information every day, meaning expose yourself to listening to it, writing it, reading it, again with the stickers or whatever, and then force yourself to reproduce those things every day, just like you did when you were learning, in my case, Spanish. Right? It's not that I just one day was born, probably 1 year after I was born, I was like, yeah, can I get some pizza, delivered at 8 p.m.? Of course not. But I started saying it somehow. Probably I was started saying mom, right? And then I said mom 1,000 times. And then I say, mom, I water, right? Probably. And then I was like, yo, mom, I want water, right? Me want water or whatever. But the thing is, constant exposure and constant reproduction of those things every day consistently. It doesn't matter if it takes 4 or 8 weeks, it's still super quick. But the fact is that you will get there. I mean, and I know you probably know many people, and I do know many people as well, that have taken years learning German or Chinese, and they just don't get anywhere, right? And I mean,
Literally, it's like almost sad. It's almost sad, I would say. Like,
yeah,
you waste so much
yeah,
time
yeah.
doing something and you still don't get it. Like, whoa, I don't know. Like, I probably would have given up already by that time.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah,
Like
same here. It's just too much. It's too much, but it's also admiring. And this is, I think, I tell these people when I meet them that the fact that you're doing the effort, and in our case, when they get to the calls with me, and they really want to see and find out if I can help them,
mm,
I always tell them that the fact that they are here and they're looking for help gives me an idea of what their character is. And if they haven't given up, even though they've tried and tried, so far, I think that's a hint of their potential success, because they're still trying and doing it. And, many people do give up in the process. It's the easiest thing to do.
exactly. It's like building up your business, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
really good months, maybe some not so good. But it's easy to say, okay, like I've seen the last 3 years so many like really great like coaches regarding psychology or other like areas. They had their certificates and what's on, but they gave up after having one, two, three bad months in a year because they were so scared. But like good things take, of course, time, but not only time. If you pay a little bit of money, maybe not so little sometimes, but if you pay a little bit of money and take a little bit of risk, but there's impossible. It's impossible that you don't learn from people who are a like already millionaires, or b they're already where you want to be. Doesn't need to be monetary wise the goal, right? And then you will learn already from somebody who went through the same things. Like me being frustrated in Costa Rica, like speaking so horrible Spanish that people were ignoring me on the street. Like nobody can believe that now. Of course,
It's
people
hard.
are
It is
like,
hard to believe, I had to say.
like, but I can remember that. That was deep down, and that made me like want to learn it even more.
Yeah.
Because I was so pissed back then. I can remember, like I was so angry because I just wanted to talk to people, and I said, you know what? Like either way, I work, like I live with this rejection and get frustrated, or I just go with it. And then the bad thing is like I learned the communication and the things the wrong way because I was too stubborn to just ask for help anywhere else. And like the language school in Barcelona, I don't
Mhm.
want to talk bad about them, but it was not the way for me to learn Spanish. It was just boring. I did not want to learn 500,000 different rules before I speak the language. So I dropped that really quick. Then I found out, like, first of all, I learned it on my own. And then after 8 or 9 months, or even like being in Germany, then completely, I got other mentors that helped me. It's sitting in Germany, speaking almost Latino like, or like native like, so to say. So I did not need to be in Costa Rica. Of course, it helped to develop the language. Not gonna lie, of course, that helped tremendously. But to really get good, to pronounce like a native, um, you just needed to have like the help from the right people, like getting immersed through it daily, having constant feedback, and boom, here we go. Uh, Here we go. And like life doesn't need to be that hard.
Yeah, I think, connecting what you said, life doesn't have to be, harder than that, but then, uh, so it's like it happens, right? And you say you didn't need to do that, and then you made it. And I would say it doesn't have to be as hard as it seems. Okay, but then why does it even seem hard to begin with? And I think it is related to what you said, that it didn't work in the institute you were learning, that they didn't teach you the way you liked. And it's, I would say, the main problem with that and with many institutions and everything is that they try to teach languages as if they were like maths. It is the most boring monologue ever, every day, if you're so unlucky that you have everyday classes, right? It tends to be the most boring thing. It's like they want to just push down your throat all these rules and grammars and whatever, and you don't speak a thing. You don't know how to say anything, right? You can't speak a thing. And so what I think is that, and this is, I think this will help anyone that's learning any language. Grammar rules are not meant for you to first learn them and then speak on them. I would say grammar rules, you can come up with them on your own. If you go somewhere else and you just, well, not even go somewhere else, like tell me about the grammar of German, like for example you and how you learned it, or how I learned the Spanish grammar, or how you learned the Spanish grammar. Yeah, right. You said you had to go out there and speak a lot, right? Grammar, really what it just is patterns that we notice in that language that repeat over and over again until they become the standard of how that language is supposed to be structured. That's it. And so you can come with your own grammar by yourself. You know how? You go out there, you speak, and you try the same thing over and over again. And once you find that it's right and people don't comment anything on you, then they don't look at you with a weird face, there you go. You have now a grammar rule by yourself. Now, of course, you have to go ahead and try and fail until you get it. But what I mean is that help students take the mindset off of, grammar has to fit culture. It's the other way around. Culture creates grammar. So you don't really need to know the grammar. You just need to learn how to structure correctly. And then little by little, you will realize, oh, so this sentence that I learned today fits the grammar. Yes, it does. Right? Instead of just, oh yeah, this is grammar one, two, three, this is subject, verb, blah, 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 and this is how you do it. And then what you end up with is like mathematical formulas that you're afraid to use because you don't know if you'll do it correctly. You try you, and then you see what natives say or what they don't say or whatever, right? But yeah, I think that's what creates the idea in our minds that these languages are so hard to learn. Because when we think about learning them, we think about boring institutes, boring programs that are not even designed for what we want, and they're just based on monologues and old style teaching that we can date back to, I don't know, more than 100 years old. Like it's really like that. I learned the other day that Spanish, the way that we in Mexico learn Spanish, the school system hasn't changed its structure since like the 1800s. The 1800s. That's like more than 200 years ago. It's something old, and by old I mean old, right? But that's how they teach us, and that's the thing. Now we're natives, so it helps, yes, but
Mhm.
that same structure is what I see people trying to do when they teach English or they want to learn English, right? They have this in mind, like, oh, it's gonna be so hard, it's gonna be so boring. Well, I mean, yes, but it doesn't have to be, right? There's people like us that we have special programs designed for them, and that we actually make them meaningful to learn the language. It should be meaningful. It's a language, right? You're not learning like
Yeah.
anything. I mean, it's not math. I'm not saying math, attacking math, but I think it's the cliche that we have. Math is boring. I'm not saying it is, but this is the idea we most people might have. So it is meaningful. A language should be meaningful. It should be fun. It should be interesting. It should wake you up in the morning and really be like, "Oh, yeah, I learned that yesterday. Now I can say this. Now I can communicate with like China, for instance, with more than 1.4 billion people now in the world. Like that is exciting. Instead of just going, oh yeah, this is the next grammar rule I have to learn. Like, oh yeah, boring stuff, right?
Indeed, you should get excited about like thinking on learning something new, like on immersing yourself into the culture, being able to talk about your favorite soccer game, for instance, right? Or talking about like with a woman or with a man, you probably like, yeah, you can't do that if you don't speak the language. Like
Yeah,
that's a big one. That's a big one.
yeah, bro, that's a big one.
Like literally, I have currently a student. She's from Canada. Her boyfriend is from Germany, and that's why she learns German. Yeah, it's like here we are again. Like
Yeah,
it's like so important to know why we do something. Yeah, and secondly, um, not only why, that we just enjoy it. Like to embrace this little mistake instead of like beating ourselves up, right? In the process of, my God, I did say that again wrong. Oh, I'm such a stupid, horrible person. What's just
yeah,
exaggerating, like, but there are people out there, like, literally, that's why I'm doing this big, long mindset exercise. Like, I did this 2 times, and I again, like, confirmed to myself why I do it and why it is so important. Because if you go in to something with the wrong mindset, well, you're screwed already without even trying
yeah,
to score yet, right? And people are sometimes, oh yeah, I have just this like German is hard. Is it really hard? Yeah, that's what we talked about, I think, in our last live, kind of too. But I mean, for people who did not hear it, and today we are live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on
yes,
Facebook, in my Facebook group. This is really important. Um, you need to have fun. You are allowed to have fun. We're not in school anymore where you get beaten up not beaten up literally, of course, but like maybe
Yeah,
screamed at from your parents because you came home with a bad, yeah, grade or so. You know, it's like,
exactly.
it's like so deep down in many people's head. In like our daily work, how does it work? Build a business. How does it work to get good at a job? Make a lot of mistakes. Make a
Yeah,
lot of mistakes. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Again, I would say, with making mistakes, it's getting back to what I said earlier in the beginning, which is how did you get to speak Spanish? Like, if you have a relative, or in my case, Spanish, right? But, your own native language. If you have a relative, sister, brother, anyone that you know that has a little baby that's just learning how to speak their native language, be it English, Spanish, just go out once with them. Like, uh, get together and get some coffee and let them bring their kid, the little kid, and just listen to how they speak. Most likely, I don't know, 7 out of 10 things they say might be wrong, either grammatically or pronunciation wise or whatever. But listen to them and realize that you probably don't remember it, but we were those kids. Again, making the same mistakes, very similar mistakes when we started learning Spanish, and we just had to, you know, like correct them every day. And the way we learned how to really like create sentences in the correct order is by probably listening to our mom or dad. Like, hey, how do you say this? Or like, I remember my parents used to do this. Like, oh, how do you say when they give you something? And they would give me a hint, and I just go, oh, thank you. You say gracias, right? So stuff like that. How many times do you think your parents did that to you? Or in my case, how many times they did that with me? Like thousands of times. It was so much that it became automatic, and I didn't have to think about it. It just happened, and I just happened to say that. But then it is with real life. It's meaningful, and it's related to what you said. It's fun. Should be fun. It's not dull. It's like it shouldn't be that you sit somewhere and then you have to listen to someone in a monologue for 45 minutes or an hour, and then you go back with homework with stuff to do. Like that's not fun. And what I love to do with my students is let them discover the language. I definitely guide them through so they ask the right questions, but I always let them ask questions and I reply back with questions so they can come up with logic that by themselves they go, oh, so this is how they do it. I'm like, yeah, it seems like that's how they say it. And it's not that I came here to the board and say, this is subject, verb, whatever, this is how it's done. It's like they come up with these things themselves, and because they came up with that, it feels way more meaningful, way more exciting, and they really feel like they're making progress. And I would say that's one of the most fun and interactive ways of learning a language, and it should be, again, like that. Because then, if not, then what do we have? A boring class and just like a pain and something we need to suffer? I definitely don't think so. It and it, like you said, it's related also to how really convinced you are of learning it. If you truly want to do it, then you will do it. Because there's people that learn because they have boyfriends or girlfriends that they pretty much have to, if they want to, probably. And this might sound dramatic, but if they want to see their relationship succeed, it depends on communication. I mean, we all know that. You can ask dating coaches. They're most going to say communication is key. How do you communicate properly and effectively if you don't speak the same language? So definitely they have to. But what about if you don't really have to? Then you, just like you said, you go and check what is your deepest why that you're doing that. Like, what is it that you're aiming for? Just remind yourself constantly of that emotional anchor, and before you know it, just gonna be showing up every day to do what you have to do, and the result will be there, right? And we talk a lot about these things of mindset because really, if we didn't see that the current situation does not need us to speak about this, we wouldn't do it. But like there's so many people that really want to learn, but they're so not motivated, and they feel down, and I think it's going to be hard. And this is why we do this and we cover these topics. It's like we're really trying to show you it is not as hard as it seems. We have walked the path of doing so, and it gets better, right? But then again, it depends on what you want. Are you fully committed and you really want to make it? Come with us. If you just like are curious about it, but don't really want to invest your time, money, or energy or whatever, I mean, there's always courses that they offer for $10 out there, but don't expect to get the results that you're getting. Don't expect that $10 will get you a result that probably a salary of $3,000 would get you. It's just don't expect to get that salary with just an investment of 10. It's just logic. But then again, how much do you want it? And then from that, then you can decide, I would say. What do you think?
I completely wholeheartedly agree because like I got this way actually and compliment like from one of my students. He said like, like Alex in German, I really admire your organization. Like I need to to learn from you there too. So people are like, okay, they're coming from like different areas. Like he's like working actually for the government here in Panama.
Uh huh.
Super cool student, super motivated. But like there's a lot of intrinsic motivation. He just started out a couple of weeks ago, literally. So it's just like almost first month, and he already speaks quite a lot, you know. And it's because he like has the right mindset already in place. I did not even need to push him into that direction so much, but it's just fun, like, and others are like, yeah, let's see if we get like results. Of course, like I need to see if I can speak so quick. Now, like, you don't need to say anything, you need to take action, like,
Yeah.
I can see that right away, like who will be really really good student right away from the beginning, and others who just take longer because they kind of fight with themselves, I would
Mm.
say, a little bit longer until they just shove it like down somewhere else, and then like let go of letting go of like this shame, yeah, of speaking, yeah, this like feelings of being like embarrassed when saying something wrong. Well, because that's about it, right? We want to maintain our status. We want to look cool, yeah, for instance, in front of most of like the people that we don't want to get like make like jokes about. We don't like
Yeah.
to be like this person you log about. But it's about if you can log about yourself, if you take it easy, if it's like you said, you don't put it on a pedestal. It's in your reality, because
Yeah.
I have like an module where it is called identity shift. Like
Mm-hmm.
identity shift. Why? Because you need to believe. Sounds so cliche, but you need to believe that you're a German speaker. If you don't believe that you can be at least a German speaker or a Chinese speaker, in your case, well, how in the hell you can expect,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to learn it, and I think I see that with you a lot too. Like you really get along well with your students, and what you said like resonated a lot with myself as well. We guide people, but we let them talk and play with the language a lot. We both are having like a pretty similar approach, I would say, and some people love it from the beginning. Others need to get used to it first. Of course, the people who are playful and they're like really doing exactly what we tell them, they're getting great results, and it's just so much more fun. Yeah. And then like being in school and like just reading, like certain people love that, yeah. But these are, for instance, not the right students for us. You need to have a certain initiative, like
Yeah.
You need to have a little drive. You need to have a little bit of I don't care like attitude, about regarding to make mistakes. And of course, you can learn certain things, but certain things I believe you have in yourself. Yeah, you need to want to make the change. That change. Yeah. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you say in your own words? What was your main, um, game changer when you lived in China? Of course, you immersed yourself into the language, but anything that you did not mention so far that helped you tremendously to immerse yourself easier?
I would say so. I think my case is a bit more. I wouldn't say like special, but definitely it's different because most of my immersion, and I think that's one of the topics. Immersion and spatial repetition, all those things. I love them because I did them automatically since day one in Chinese, and the way I did them is because I was so in love and amazed by the language. You can't imagine how amazed I was. Like I would play music and songs for my, wherever I was. And when those things happened, I was probably 14 years old, 13 years old. So, of course, my parents were involved in many of those situations where I would play music and listen to movies or whatever, songs and all whatnot. My brother was as well. I can promise you, if I bring one of my parents and I invite them over and I tell them, can you please tell everyone what's the song that I would sing and that I would play every time, they would remember that. It's a Chinese song they don't remember, but I would play those three songs so much they grew tired of them. They could tell the lyrics by their own way, but the thing is, that gives you an idea of how deep I was into the language. It was really so natural because of my great love and admiration and amazement. So in China, many of the things just became easier. I did not really try things that were completely new to me, but they just got way easier. Because what I would do here is what I'm telling you, the labeling thing. I would change my phone settings to Chinese, and I would try to read everything because one thing is changing it to Chinese and kind of ignore the words you read, and another different thing is actually read in my case, it was the slide to unlock on an iPhone. We don't have that anymore for many years, so you can imagine. I was like, how do you read that? Like, I want to know what that is. I want to know what the settings app is. I want to know what the brightness is. Everything I wanted to find out. So, what helped me in China is that I realized that probably 4 months in, the characters were so easy to remember. We had a teacher that let us remember out of our memory some characters without any hint. So we would have to write them off the top of our minds every day. Of course, we could not cheat. And I remember sometimes during the class when I was trying to take some notes, I would write, I would be like, how was these characters written? And instead of looking it up, I would take like 5 seconds. And I was like, I remember this was the first stroke, and then this one was the other, and then out of nowhere, I wrote the full character, and I was like, holy moly, this did not happen in the past. And I think the reason why I was able to remember more characters like any other time in my life is precisely because I was exposed to them every day. Like at a turn that I did in my room, there were Chinese characters. If I went out the school, the campus, the traffic signs, they were in Chinese. Every advertisement was in Chinese. Everything that I would look. So I think that intense exposure to characters subconsciously would make my brain to keep them longer and well in the surface, so by the time I wanted to remember one of those, they would come to my mind very easily because I would just be exposed to them so much. So I think in China that is what helps. China, I mean, living in the country you want to learn language does help, yes, but is that the only way? Definitely not. And like I said, many of the things that I applied in China, they just became easier. They were not new. They became easier because I was doing all the things here pretty much. And I think people can ask themselves this question. Let's say that you're an individual and you, instead of being born in Mexico, you were born in Germany. What would the version of you that has been born in Germany and is now the same age as you be doing right now? What would they be doing? They probably have a very similar life to you, right? They wake up, they look at their phone, they go down, they have these kinds of thoughts. Okay, how do you think that that person would think those thoughts, or read, or what would they read, what would they speak? Well, those things that they would speak, read, and say, do them just as if you were that version that has been born in Germany. And this is what I would do. Honestly, like, I was so insane that I would try to to say any and every thought that would cross my mind in Chinese. And I later realized that it's just like if I was born in Chinese, like I'm in China. If I was born in China, I would have thoughts in Chinese, right? So try to do that, and you try little by little. You don't force yourself, and you don't go, "Oh, I can make it so hard." If you don't know that much, it happens little by little. But I would say that is. I mean, well, what do you think that was your experience, but when you were coming to Latin America?
Same. Like I hope, like I completely agree with you. Like even I had some help with the some things. Like German friend of mine, she already spoke Spanish, and like I was really like already like from the beginning, kinda. I don't know if I can say that like arrogant like what, but I knew like I I know I can speak better than her one day, even though I didn't understand anything because I hear the pronunciation. That I don't
Yeah.
want. I don't want to sound like that.
You don't want to, but you're doing it. It's fine. I give you that. Your pronunciation is too good. I thought you were from Latin America.
Appreciate that. And yeah, and then she already like had this little post-it and everywhere like kitchen, cocina, like baño,
Of course.
toilet, and so on. So and I hear only that like I have like heard like the Costa Rican like a national team all pretty much. I have it like here, like I don't know if it's I think it's the unofficial version, but I can sing it like right away
Of
completely.
course.
That's like why like I related and I was like falling in love with Costa Rica so much. It's like I like the people. I like the country. Like they're very warm people, very nice, welcoming people. And in the beginning, I thought like the other way around. Like why are these people so unfriendly and like like literally like it's just funny. And once you like really make the decision that okay, no matter what, I immerse myself, I try to make it as fun as possible. Like for me, it was like hearing like as well, certain, even all the. Um, I have the Spanish word in mind right now. The songs, canciones, yeah, good
Yeah.
songs. You know, and it's so funny. Like from being English, my main and best language, like Spanish is now here. My English is probably here, not so far. I hope at least. But all jokes aside, and it's like about having fun with it, playing around with it, being honest, dating a lot of women there too during that time. I'm not gonna lie, that helped too.
It
But I'm
helps.
situation. It helps, huh? Yeah, dating helps indeed. If somebody asks me if dating helps, oh my god, there is
It
I think
does. Yeah, it's a
like
fact. I mean, you can't debate that. It does. It's not critical. It's not that we're saying you should go get a relationship with someone of your typing language, but it just does help. because you're talking to them every day. Clearly, I mean, if you are together with them, of course you talk about their life, and you're sharing thoughts and whatever, and it will be like an ongoing, constant cultural exchange and language exchange for free, right? It's that's why it helps. There's no way around it. If you can get that with a friend, so be it. Go get it, right? But it would just mean it's easier because if you're in love with that person, it doesn't seem to be work anymore. You really want to get to know them. But by getting to know them, you need to first, understand their culture and language. So it's like you're learning for free, and you should be thankful to your emotions because they're engaged and they're in love with that person, so they make it easier for you, right? But that's why we say it helps, because objectively it does. We're not saying you have to, but if you have the chance, it definitely will help. Like in my case, I remember I also kind of like dated someone, a girl from high school. She's Chinese, and I just remember I was so amazed by the things that I could learn. And I remember some things that I used to say in Chinese that were so wrong in so many levels. Like I would slap myself right now. I would be like, come on, it's just wrong. Like it's wrong on so many levels. But I remember I just try to say things. It's just the other thing that you were saying. When you try to immerse yourself, immersion requires practice, and practice requires you to not feel ashamed or be afraid of committing mistakes. And then again, like you have been saying, you have to go back to when we were kids. Like I think we have a lot of wisdom in our lives, found in our lives when we were kids and little babies. Like when or how did we even learn how to walk, for instance? Like how did we learn how to walk? Is it that we first, like, of course we probably did our first step and then second step, and maybe we didn't make it to the third step because we fell again to the floor. And I don't see any baby out there saying like, you know what, mom, I'm gonna give up. This thing is too hard. I've tried more than 100 times walking. I think walking is not for me. I think I'm always just gonna stay on the floor, right? You don't see that. You just see babies standing and then falling and then laughing it out and then just trying it, trying later, trying again later. They don't care. They just enjoy it. And I think it this can be applied to anything in our lives, particularly in languages, but it's because we have, now that we are adults, we have so many ideas, so many preconceived uh, things of what should be. It should be perfect. It should be okay. Says who? Like who says a baby should be able to walk in or whatever? Like, or nature in general. Like remember, I think there's an image. I honestly don't know if it's true or not. I hope it is, but scientifically a bee should not be able to fly. And there's a meme, right, that says, good thing is that bees don't care about physics. So that's the thing. Like
Yeah, like
says who? Says who, right?
exactly, like never, like you would have never thought somebody would be able to fly to the moon or something like that. Like the other thing that clearly shows, if you believe that you can make it, and if you're goofy, like for example, I can remember that too, and I'm like, oh, how bad was my Spanish? I
Uh,
wonder why this one, like then, like we're even like going on with me with this like horrible
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the way you're speaking, but it's like, if you goofy, if you just make even fun of how, like, you make
Exactly.
mistakes, nobody cares. You even are like attractive, you are interesting through that because you just show you don't care. You care more about making the effort of speaking than not speaking. And everybody in the whole world, no matter if German, if Chinese, if Mexican, if whatever, if there are an normal person right in their head, they will appreciate the effort.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think most people in all languages are like that because they all have their faculty, and Chinese are like that as well. They just feel so amazed when you speak their own language. They go, "Wow, you really took time. You're taking," and they always go, "Wow, your Chinese is so good," even though it might not be that good, right? But they recognize your effort, and they're always open and friendly. Like I really haven't encountered, really, in all my like process of learning it. Of course right now it's different, they can tell I speak, but before when I was trying, they would help out and they would try to make it easy for me. They would speak slow. Like they appreciate. I think we all would appreciate. Like, what if a person comes to you wholeheartedly and tries to speak your language? I think you'll find that as meaningful, and then you would appreciate that. It's common sense for us humans, I would say. So yeah, it's like definitely it's goofy, it's funny, and you look back, and I just what you said made me remember one thing that I said with this girl, like to another couple. They were like also kind of dating, and we were like, let's tell them that they're the perfect couple in Chinese, and I was like, yeah, great. I was like, it's like 你们是完美的一对, something like that, and she was like, yeah, it's like that. I'm like, yeah, I did it. And so we went there, and then we both were like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then we said that to them both, and they were like, "What are you guys saying?" But that moment was so important for me, right? Because like I created the sentence correctly, and she confirmed it was right. So I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm so good!" So it boosts your confidence. It's fun. You enjoy the process. But this is what we've been saying so far. That this is the thing that we're talking is yet another way of immersion. If you were born in Germany or China, you very likely would have a Chinese girlfriend, boyfriend, a German girlfriend, boyfriend. Then go get one and practice. If you don't, if you have one and you don't want a couple, romantic partner, okay. If you were born in China or Germany, what would you have more? Yes, friends that are Germans or Chinese. So go get German friends and Chinese friends, right? Just try to find a friend that has similar interests. you know, if you like football, go get and find a Chinese that likes football. If you like whatever, kayak, whatever, go find someone in Germany that likes that. And then create a relationship, a friendship, right? Based upon that. There you go. That's immersion. Like immersion is just a fancy word, but really it's copy your current life and lifestyle, paste it in the language that you want to do, and then practice. That's it. Simple.
100%. Like play for the football team or soccer team or book club. Go to the book club. Um, like and then try to like explain your favorite book in your target language. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is possible. It is so possible. Like I remember like reading a book that's called Altibajos de la Vida, and I only knew what is vida means, yeah, which is life.
Wow.
And I was reading that, and at the end of this book, which was way over my level, everybody would have said, "Oh, no, that's like B2, probably, blah blah blah, or C1." I was reading it, and it was like a little bit tough, but I said, "I don't care. I just celebrated every time I got to understand certain things." And guess what? After the middle of the book, I understood way more already.
There you go. There
Uh,
you go, man. Yeah. Congrats.
yeah, I was able things, and it was able to like that was 8 years ago. Like to speak to about like certain like parts of the book. Yeah, with my whole family back then.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is something that's so powerful. Really, and you can start by your own native language. Just listen to how you speak. It's very easy. If you create consciousness and awareness of how you speak, it's super easy to tell that in your own wording, you have patterns. It's the same for all languages. They all have patterns. Just repeat them enough and they will
Mhm.
become your patterns as well. Like I have so many patterns in Chinese, but then it's because of doing it so often. And then you have it. You have your own language now. Doesn't have to be hard. You just need to do the work. Definitely. I mean, come on. You have to move, right? You have to do things. But they don't have to be neither boring, nor do they have to be dull or, lifeless, meaningless, but the
Exactly,
opposite, total opposite.
exactly. Like taking action. Yeah, like making everything like a task. Like not about okay, this is this complicated algebra method from no, this is like something that I can have fun with, that I can have like play around. Like in math, there's just right or wrong, but
Yeah,
Language is not like, it's not like just black and white. And this
definitely.
is the beautiful thing of it. Once you get that, once you have this mindset, guess what? It's way more fun. You can joke around. Like I remember being at the beach in Costa Rica in Puerto Viejo.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and wanted to meet up with a friend from America. At the end, kind of we were not able to meet up, and from the very first day, I didn't care because I met with some like with some Tico guys, like a group of six or 8 people. We were getting along so well that they invited me to yeah, to discover the beach there. Going to the restaurant. Like we were hanging out the whole weekend together. It was one of the best experience I had in my life, literally. This is so unexpected, you know, and like we were laughing a lot about my mistakes in Spanish. I was pretty much able to talk to them completely most of the time. Certain things did not get, but you know what? Like after this weekend, I felt more confident. I felt better, and yeah, I think that's the way to go. Like people are way more open than you think they are. Most probably, 99 times of the day.
And just like you said, action is what breeds confidence. And I think this is a quote that Dale Carnegie said. The famous Dale Carnegie is like, act in action breeds fear and doubt, but taking action breeds confidence and courage. There you go. It's just take action, and that is going to build the confidence that you need to speak. And it's just like a virtuous cycle, right? You speak more, you have more confidence to speak more, so you speak even more. And so since you spoke more, then you have more confidence to speak even more. And there you go. It's just, but you have to start. You have to give the first step.
Love this quote. I think I heard it in one of his books as well. And
Yeah.
as you, yeah, beautiful, beautiful talk today. I would say, Alfonso. I think we both need almost to drop it off. I think we could easily, as always, talk probably 2 hours.
Or it's no secret now.
But yeah, just let the people know, please. Where should they connect with you the easiest, or can connect with you the easiest? And yeah, where can they probably book a first just discovery call? I don't know how you.
Sure, sure. So you can find me at so both Facebook and LinkedIn as just like you're seeing the name on the screen, Alfonso Romero Garza. You can also look me up on Instagram. So it's Alfonso Romero dot ZH. That's it, ZH. So that's what we call the term, the endings in Chinese, 中文, it's ZH. Yeah, so you can find me Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all those platforms, and we can connect if you are so inclined to do so.
Awesome. Yeah. So, guys, you heard him. Yeah. It's you're bringing always a wealth of knowledge and wisdom to each and every call. So, if you want to skyrocket your current uh, level or non-existent level so far, Alfonso is your man. And yeah, with that being said, have a beautiful weekend and
You too.
forward to the next call. Yeah.
See you all. Thank you very much for having me.
Likewise. No
Bye.
problem. Bye bye.